For those of you who are joining us now, welcome to our second episode of our podcast for the fans. Here we'll be discussing the scoops, the stats, and upcoming games in the National Football League. Our hope is as this podcast grows in viewership, we'll branch out into some other sports, particularly the NBA. But for us here at the beginning, let's talk about the amazing sport of football and how this current 2019 through 2020 season of the NFL will play out. For those of you listening, for those of you who listened last week, thank you for joining us again on this fun little experience we're starting out here. Without further ado, let's dive in. Introductions are away. Let's just get right into the meat of it. Right, Shane?
Oh, right into the meat. That's the way I love it. Where do you want to start with this week, though? Do you want to start with past results and our predictions, or what's kind of the direction you want to take to start it out tonight?
I feel like there's a bit... I feel like, maybe we definitely need to go into the into our predictions from last week, which may I say, we didn't actually do too bad in our predictions.
I will say 4, and I do mean 4, being amateur and not paid to do this. I will say that we probably did better than a lot of the professionals who are assigned to do this and assigned to study this and be like, oh yeah, the score's going to be this and this with these people taking the lead. I mean, we had a pretty solid predictions on some of these.
I don't mean to toot our own horns, but maybe we should be ESPN analysts for Halloween.
Oh, I would love it. Except the real thing, with a nice office.
And a good paycheck too, right?
But let's start with the first game, with the Redskins and the Vikings.
Yeah, let's get into it. The Thursday Night Football Showcase. Washington Redskins currently only have one win under their belt versus Minnesota Vikings, who currently sit in second place in the NFC North, just behind the Green Bay Packers. Looks like they're just trying to inch their way in there, maybe get a wild card spot for the playoffs.
I mean, they are 6-2. So, McKay, I just want to say, you predicted 32-14 Vikings, of course. I predicted 27-14 Vikings. The actual score of that game, as the people watching can see, is 19-9 Vikings. Not our closest, but honestly, not that bad.
Oh, you're right. I think our biggest mistake in that when we made the guesses, when we made our predictions on that one, was we were expecting maybe a little bit more of how Kirk Cousins was playing against Detroit the week before. You know what I mean?
I also just want to say, so with taking that in mind, I think we expected the Vikings to pop off more than they did, but at the same time, I don't think we expected the Redskins' defense to hold up as well as they did. Because if you look back, they held the 49ers, who are currently undefeated, and just recently had a big game. We'll talk about that later, of course. But they held the 49ers to 9 points. They didn't score anything, but only to 9 points. So I think we might have underestimated the Redskins a little bit in this prediction, but not surprised that the Vikings took it.
With Jay Gruden being fired from Washington and putting in, just an interim coach, I feel like the Redskins are kind of getting into this point where they're a little desperate. I don't feel like Washington is having the same mindset as teams like the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins, where they might just be tanking to get that number 1 draft pick. I think Washington genuinely wants to win. They want to make their fan base happy. They want to see how well they can do. They're just not getting it happen. But as you can see, they're starting to ramp it up a little bit. You're right. I think their defense is starting to show a little more promise. And for many people who saw the game, you notice that they pulled Case Keenum out from under center, and they put the rookie, Dwayne Haskins, who a lot of Washington fans have been wanting to see. They put him in to see how well he would fare. And you know what? It wasn't entirely disappointing, was it?
No, he actually, if I remember right, he actually had a pretty solid game. I'm looking at his stats. He wasn't in for very long, and he actually didn't do as well as I expected. He was 3 for 5, 33 yards, and 1 interception. Minus that interception, though, 11 yards per pass, which isn't bad. Considering what the Redskins have been dealing with this season with not being the greatest team so far. Do you think he's their QB for the future?
I would definitely say that Dwayne Haskins is the future franchise QB for the Redskins. it was such a surprise during the draft that he was chosen so late. You had New York picking Daniel Jones, who, may I also say, has not been a complete and utter disappointment with his performances either. But it was a bit of a shock to see Haskins get taken so late in the draft when he was expected to be just so good, playing for Ohio State. And the thing is I wouldn't say this is a bad debut for the NFL for him, considering he was kind of expected to not start at all this year.
It's very true.
Another thing that I kind of want to point out in this game, though, is Washington's running back, Adrian Peterson, a former Viking who was practically hailed as a hero by Minnesota fans. I mean,
he is highly respected amongst Viking fans, I would say. Like, I honestly don't think a lot of Viking fans were too happy when he left the Vikings. I think quite a few. I would like to imagine at least that a few of them were kind of disappointed that he left. But at the same time, like, running backs don't last for very long.
Oh, no. And as we've seen, especially within the past few years, running backs have it almost feels like they're being stomped on by the rest of the NFL, and some of them are starting to take notice, whether it's Ezekiel Elliott or Le'Veon Bell or Melvin Gordon, you name it.
It's true.
But here we have Adrian Peterson, old reliable, it sure seems like.
Doing fairly well in the game.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on, because I don't think that was like the biggest game to talk about, and we don't want to spend too much time about it, but did you want to add any final notes on it?
Yeah, I would just add one last thing on it, just for something for us to just talk about going into the future. Shane, what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins now at this point? Do you think he's improving? What do you see is going to happen with him for the rest of the season?
Kirk Cousins, I mean, he started out this season, I feel like he started out kind of bad. And I think I remember hearing so many people were like, we don't like Cousins, he's not good. I just want to say, he had a solid game this against the Redskins. I just want to say, 26 passes, 23 of them were caught for 285 yards. Like, I'd take that in a QB any day. Accurate and reliable. Even if it was just that one game, you want your team's QB to be that precise and to have that good of a attempt per catch ratio.
Right. I mean, and it could have been an emotional game for him too. That's his former team.
That's true.
He did well. Another thing to point out too, Shane, again, moving on from Cousins though, is the trade deadline happened today, and Stephon Diggs is still with Minnesota. So I guess that's the way it's going to be.
I mean, I think we're just going to have to see what the offseason would bring with any potential contracts running up at the end of the year and so forth. I mean, there were a few trades made around the league today, but some people are wanting to win now. Some people are stocking up for next season. You just never know exactly what is going behind some teams' front offices.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, with front offices, maybe they've been able to change some minds. Maybe they're able to convince them to kind of, just make some changes. Maybe Stephon Diggs doesn't want to leave Minnesota anymore. Maybe Melvin Gordon has finally accepted that his place is with Los Angeles. We don't know. You're right. We'll have to see what the offseason brings.
Anyways, let's move on to some other games. Moving on from the Redskins and Vikings. So which one do you want to talk about next? Do you want to talk about your boys next?
My boys that I'm a little disappointed in. Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the Chargers and Bears game. Whew.
So let's just go off the record. I want to say we were a lot closer to this one with the Redskins and Vikings one. You said 24-20 Bears. I said 2017 Bears. The final score was 17-16 Chargers. I just want to say I got the Chargers score right. I am proud of that much.
It's true. You did get it right. And you know what? The funny thing is it would have been a lot closer. I mean, everyone were kind of expecting towards the very end of the game for it to be 19-17 Bears. But as many people have been talking about on social media, oh no, the Bears kicking woes have returned.
I'm letting you go all off on this one. This is your boys. This is your expertise with your kicker and the Chicago kicker woes that's been plaguing you guys for what feels like forever.
Yep, you're exactly right. Here's the thing. I don't want to necessarily, condemn Eddie Pinheiro just yet. I understand he did not have a good game on Sunday as I was watching. And yeah, some mistakes were made. I will say this: he's no Cody Parkey. I mean, I don't really expect to see another double doink from Eddie Pinheiro. But hey, we don't know. The Bears play the Eagles next week, so I could be wrong about that. But I think the biggest woes, or the biggest, excuse me, not the biggest woes. We've already talked about the kicker woes. The biggest struggle that I'm seeing right now, again, is situated around Mitchell Trubisky and the fact that Matt Nagy is not willing to give up on Trubisky. He's going to continue having him be the starting quarterback. And the one thing that I have to bring up from this game is Matt Nagy's play call decisions. I just don't understand. Okay, let me take this back. I understand that if Nagy was going to do the run game when it's that close in the red zone, of course the defense is going to expect that, and he didn't want to risk any fumbles. I understand that was his concern, but I don't like the idea of you have a minute left and you just tell your quarterback to take a knee. You don't try to get in not 1 yard more to maybe see if you can make it a little bit easier for Pinheiro to make the winning kick. That is my biggest struggle with this game. I really feel like the Bears should have been able to win this, but they didn't because they could not convert to touchdowns in the red zone. It seems like they just gave up as soon as they got in the red zone. It came to fourth down, and they brought out the kicker.
So would you say that the Bears lost that game not because of the kicker, but because of who was calling the plays behind that game?
I agree. This one is on Matt Nagy as the coach. Yes, of course, the reason that there was no win is because Pinheiro did miss the kick, but there were mistakes made all around, and unfortunately, you can't pin it all on the kicker, in my opinion. Now, of course, I could be wrong. Many people, from what I've seen within the Chicago fan base, have differing opinions. Some are saying it's Trubisky, some are saying it's Nagy, some are saying it's Pinheiro. Some are just saying it's the curse of the Chicago Bears kicker. I don't know.
But I mean, at the same time, so from what I'm seeing, and my team has a good kicker, and I'll get into him later because I love that. I love him. I feel like my team's always had good kickers. Do you think Eddie is a good enough kicker to at least do what needs to be done, but he's just not a clutch performer? So, like, in the game, everything came down to him, and he couldn't clutch it out. Do you think he's a good enough kicker to stay the kicker, or does he need to learn how to clutch these desperate must-win field goal situations?
I think he's a good enough kicker. I think that, and he does come in clutch. Remember back in week 2 when he did score the winning field goal, a longer field goal against the Broncos to seal the Bears' win in week 2.
It's true.
Now, I understand that it almost seems like every ball travels farther in Mile High Stadium, but I feel like at this point it might have just been a fluke, but we'll have to see.
Now, I do want to say, we have talked a lot about Bears. I don't think we talked enough about the Chargers, who are my parents' former team, actually. So, Phillip Rivers, I think is honestly one of the better quarterbacks of this day and age. He has been one of the better quarterbacks around, more consistent. He wasn't his sharpest that day, but you guys were going up against Rivers, and Melvin Gordon did have his first rushing touchdown of the season. Do you think he played any contribution to that win, or?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying that this is all, the Bears screwed up and, that's the only reason that they lost the game. The Chargers, I would say, played well. I believe there was one, specifically what I remember, you're going to have to remind me if you can see who it was, but it was one of the Chargers defenders who was able to tackle Trubisky and cause the fumble that later set up for them to make a touchdown at towards the end of the fourth.
Ooh, I can't think of who that is.
Yeah, I think the defense came up big towards the end in order to seal that win. Not seal the win, but to give the Chargers the lead they need. And then, of course, their win was sealed when Pinheiro missed the kick.
I mean, yeah, it looks like, just from looking at their stats, and I'm even showing the audience right now, it's that their defense was pretty on top of you guys. I mean, they had 3 sacks on you guys, 2 from Joey Bosa. I mean, no one's going to doubt his talent.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, I think it was honestly just, I mean, you guys were about even going into that game. Now you guys are both at 3 wins. I think it was just a tough tough break for Chicago that I think broke you and a lot of other Bears fans' hopes and dreams for this season.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I mean, there's always time to come back around, but you guys have some strong competition looking at the NFC. I mean, you guys are in a fight for who truly gets to claim that top end. Right now, you guys aren't sitting too pretty.
Oh, the Bears are at the bottom of the NFC North right now. And yes, there is tough competition between Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay especially. So unfortunately, if I were to give my honest opinion, I believe that the Bears' playoff chances are over. But I mean, again, I know I understand it's not the end, but I think for at this point, it's just going to be this thing of the Bears are going to try and continue to do the best that they can, see if Trubisky can get anything going on offense, and we'll see how the rest of this regular season goes.
Yeah, who knows? You could have a new quarterback next season.
Who knows? Really, we said it before. We'll have to see how the offseason goes. Everyone's talking about Tom Brady leaving the Patriots after. Maybe Chicago will get him. That'd be interesting.
Oh, man. Okay, let's continue because we have more on the Brady subject later to cover. But anyways, next game, what do you want to do? Seahawks and Falcons?
That's what I got next on my list.
All right. Seahawks and Falcons, 27-20. You predicted 35-3 Seahawks.
We did say that was a bold prediction.
We did, but you also said, and I will quote this because I remember you distinctly saying this, you'll believe it when you see it, Atlanta.
Exactly, I did say that.
Do you see a little bit now, or are you still like, I still need to see a little bit more?
No, I'll eat crow on this one for this time being. I know that they didn't seal the win, but that's not bad of a score considering they didn't have Matt Ryan.
And considering the Seahawks are 6-2 right now, I would say that was a lot closer game than I think we both expected. Because I predicted 28-10, which I was close to the Seahawks score, but I also doubted the Falcons a little bit. So I think we didn't give the Falcons as much credit with Matty Ice gone for the game.
Sure, for sure. And I think we'll just need to see how the Falcons progress from here, whether it is with Matt Ryan coming back soon or without him, and see if they can get anything going. Because I feel bad for Atlanta. This has been a rough season for them. Over since this all began, they've only been able to pull off that one win against Philadelphia at the beginning of the season. And Shane, I actually was looking back on some of our conversations before we got this podcast going. And I'm a little ashamed of myself for saying this, but when we were talking about MVP candidates, I said Matt Ryan would be one of them.
Well, I forgot about that. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. Matt Ryan has been pretty solid. I have him on my fantasy team right now. He hasn't been bad, in all honesty. But speaking of MVP candidates, and we did talk about this last week, Russell Wilson. He did not have that great of a game. He had a good game, but it wasn't phenomenal like I expected it to. I still think he's a potential MVP candidate, but I just kind of felt lackluster this season. I mean, 14 for 20, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Good, accurate. Like I said, I'll take that any day, but it wasn't as dominant as I thought it was going to be.
No, and I don't really know where to place that blame on, as whether he, maybe he didn't try as hard, or maybe Atlanta's defense was pushing on him a bit more. I don't know. But all the same though, a win is a win for the Seahawks, whether Russell Wilson had a great game or not.
I think, in all honesty, the Falcons' defense turned it up because looking at the game, second quarter, Seahawks scored 21 points, and then after that, kind of nothing. And Falcons kind of took control after the second half. So I'm going to say Falcons, after that first half, came in with the chip on their shoulder and was able to start putting in more work. And the Seahawks, I felt like, slacked off a little bit. But other than that, a win's a win. Your team, any team that's looking for a playoff chance and playoff hopes, they'll take it any day.
I agree. I definitely agree. And, I said 35-3 regarding that score, and yeah, maybe I just had a high vision of how Russell Wilson was going to continue to progress as a quarterback this season, and maybe I just thought without Matt Ryan it wasn't going to be a successful game for the Falcons. But looking back on it now, Shane, at least I wasn't terrible towards Atlanta fans, and I said the score was going to be 28-3.
Oh man. Oh, that's brutal. That's so brutal.
And with that, let's move on.
Okay. Oh man, that's mean. Eagles versus Bills. Let's move on. Gosh, I can't believe you just did that to Atlanta. All right, Eagles to Bills. This one came as a shock for both of us, I think. You said 2014 Bills. I said 32-20 Bills. Actual score 31-13 Eagles. What the heck happened this game?
Here we saw an Eagles team with their back against the wall, thinking we have got to get a win here, or otherwise, in this case, Dallas would have gotten a lead on them in the NFC East race, and that's just as simple as that. They wanted that win, and they went out and they got it.
I mean, I can't argue with that. In all honesty, if you look at the stats just between like overall, Carson Wentz and Josh Allen didn't have that differing stats. Like 17 for 24, 172 yards, 1 touchdown. Wentz. Allen 16 for 34. He threw more, no interceptions though, 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. They were practically even. I'm gonna say what came down to it is ultimately the run game and the defense.
Definitely. And we had talked last week about how the Eagles defense was struggling. They held up. They held up in this game.
Against the Bills, who, let's remember, almost took out the undefeated Patriots earlier this season.
It's true.
So I think the Bills need to take a look back at this game, figure out what they did wrong and what they can do better in hopes of either knocking the Patriots potentially out of that number 1 seed, which I'm not confident that's going to happen, but at least fight for that playoff spot, for getting that wild card, and hopefully getting to the Patriots and kind of having a redemption arc for them almost.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, with that, you want to move on from the Eagles and the Bills?
Yeah, let's go on to the Lions and the Giants.
Lions and the Giants. Okay. I think I gave the Giants a little too much credit on this one. You said 24-17 Lions. I said 20-17 Giants. Actual score 31-26 Lions. I mean, Daniel Jones, in all honesty, he had a good game. The rest of the Giants team, though, other than Barkley,
yeah,
I felt like didn't really come to really play the game. It was basically Jones and Barkley kind of doing the main work on offense, and everyone else just kind of... They were there and they helped, but they didn't do enough.
I would agree with that. And you've talked about New York's side of things. I'm going to be talking about Detroit. I feel like Detroit really went into this game too, because I believe they'd lost the last 3 games, and because I believe it was the Chiefs, Packers, and the Vikings. They had lost those 3 games, and 2 of them happened to be at home. And I think this was just that moment where Matt Patricia, Matt Stafford, that entire team of Detroit, which has a lot of former Patriots on there. That's just my mindset when I'm thinking of the Lions this year. They really went into this game thinking we need this win if we're going to at least stay in the NFC North race, because they're not too terribly far behind the Vikings. They're closer than the Bears are at this point, but I think this was just ultimately like a game. They say we need to win this game. We need to start getting some ground again. And I think that they just that Matthew Stafford had a better game. And it was just a way for the Lions to say, hey, we're still in this. Don't quit on us just yet.
Yeah, and I would say even the Lions defense came up really big for them this game, because if you look at it, Matthew Stafford threw 1 interception and threw 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones threw about just as many yards, 4 touchdowns with no interceptions. So I think this came down to ultimately which defense was able to hold out the other team for longer, and I think the Lions just came in and decided to get it done, like you said.
Well, and that is one thing that I'll give the Lions, is that their defense is not really all that bad this year. The Giants' defense, I know it needs some work, And so I feel like you were absolutely right. It was the defense that I think was the game changer for this game.
Yeah. All right. I say we move on to the Buccaneers versus the Titans. All right. Score predictions. You said 20-13 Titans. I said 28-13 Titans. The actual score of the game, 27-23 Titans.
Right.
I'm going to open up by saying I'm not the biggest fan of Titans. They're my team's biggest rival, and they're like the ones we constantly lose to all the time. Buccaneers, I didn't expect them to come that close to stealing that victory from the Titans as they did. And what do you want to say about Ryan Tannehill?
Ryan Tannehill did not used to be that awful of a quarterback. I feel bad for him. He used to be a starting quarterback, and then everyone kind of just forgot about him. And maybe this was the game where he said, no, I still matter. I can still play. And yeah, I feel like that's what I can say about him at this point. His performance was, obviously it wasn't anything too amazing, but he was able to seal a win.
But where would you say that leaves Mariota, the former starting quarterback of this team, who had done pretty well in previous years, not like elite caliber like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, nothing like that.
But of course,
well enough to be benched this season in favor of Tannehill, and then to see Tannehill doing as well as he is, where do you think that leaves him?
This might be a bit of a bold prediction, Shane, but I think there is a possibility that Marcus Mariota, along with Jameis Winston, those two buddies, might be looking for new jobs next season.
Oh, very interesting take. I can see both of them, but I guess we'll have to see what happens to them. Like we said, in the offseason, we'll have to figure out more where these players are going and what's all happening with them.
Of course, and this is just me doing a prediction at this point. But again, I feel like Tennessee fans and Tampa Bay fans, and this game could be cited as an example with Tannehill's performance, and in this case, Jameis Winston not really being able to quite deliver. Maybe their fan bases are getting sick of it. Maybe the general manager or the front office is thinking maybe it's time for a change.
Maybe they're deciding to listen to the fans, try to get those fans to fill the seats.
Yep. Maybe they'll take Trubisky. I'm just kidding.
You will like that.
I will. Let's move on. I'm not saying anything more on that.
All right, moving on. Broncos versus Colts.
Just surprising.
I will say I won't say I'm surprised, but I'm not too surprised. So let's look at what we predicted. You said 24-10 Indianapolis. I said 27-20 Colts because I deal with the Colts twice a year, and when my team dealt with the Broncos were looking a little gritty and desiring that win, and I think they came in with that same attitude this game, but weren't able to get it done. And let's talk about Adam Vinatieri.
With Adam Vinatieri, he was the thing that changed it at the very end. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, the Broncos had the lead for most of the game.
I believe that they did. I'm checking on that. Yeah, I would say they had that lead. And I think they had that lead most of the game. And then that last quarter, Vinatieri comes in, nails that kick, because they were down by 1, nails that kick to take them up by 2 and win them the game.
Exactly. And I only put that in there as something for us to talk about just because that was what sealed the deal. Yes, maybe there are other circumstances, like, for example, Joe Flacco's injured now. They're going to have to bring in the other quarterback, the backup quarterback. I can't even remember his name for the life of me. That's how it shows you how much I care about Denver. I should probably sorry, Denver fans, I'll do better. He's going to have to come in for the next little while because Flacco's injured. And I don't know if that was a factor in it, but I think at this point too, you were right. It was the Broncos coming in there saying, we got to get a win here. We've got to step it up. And I think they definitely showed a lot of spunk in this game. And, the Colts, they held their own for a little while. It was kind of just, it was neck and neck there for a little while. And then in the end, it just came out with Indianapolis on the top. It's just very similar to, you know what? It's similar to the Broncos and Bears game that happened back in week 2. It's close. It's neck and neck. Broncos get a little bit of room, and then they just unfortunately just lose it at the very end. I think the same thing happened pretty much too with that Jaguars game too. Am I right?
Yep, pretty close to the end. The Broncos were actually doing pretty well. It was a close game, and then at the very end, the Jaguars just kind of started rolling over the Broncos. They couldn't find an answer. I will say, though, I did not expect that when Andrew Luck retired in the preseason for the Colts, that the Colts would go on to be 5-2 with Jacoby Brissett under center. I did not see that coming. I don't think many people, if anybody, saw that coming. What do you think? Do you think the Colts are getting a little bit lucky, or do you think we need to give Brissett a little bit more credit, or just the overall play calling by the Colts and the overall offense and defense by the Colts as a team are able to put them to where they are right now?
I will say this. The Colts are still a talented unit without Luck. Without Andrew Luck is what I'm saying. Not without, you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. It was a tragedy to them to lose him just before the start of the regular season. And, you brought up the comment of, should we be giving Jacoby Brissett a little bit more credit? Now, you know what? At this point, I'm going to say whoever does the scouting for the Patriots needs to get a little more credit. I mean, producing talent like Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jacoby Brissett. No, but anyway.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think the Colts are good enough overall as a team to be able to be real contenders.
I agree.
We'll see more from Brissett as the season progresses, though.
I think he has talent. I think he is good, and I think at this point, if he continues to play this way, he will be able to fill Andrew Luck's shoes.
I will agree with you on that. All right, let's move on. Bengals versus Rams. Let's look at the scores. So this was a game that I will say, I think for our entire podcast, it's probably the game that we are going to hold closest to our hearts with predictions. We both predicted. We did not plan this out. I want to remind people, we did not plan this. This was very spontaneous. We both predicted 30-10, Rams winning it. The final score, 24-10, Rams taking it. We got the Bengals score right. We both predicted the same score, and we were just one touchdown and a missed extra point from getting that exact prediction. I just want to say that is unbelievable for amateur people doing this.
Can I say I'm Tony Romo? Just kidding. I don't want to get him. I take that back.
Tony Romo predicts that the Chicago Bears will be winless the next 3 seasons.
Hey, you watch your mouth.
Anyways, a little off track. But what do you think of this game?
You know what? I think this was just, again, another one of those games where the Rams were just saying, don't forget about us. We're the defending NFC champions. We can still play. And this was their way of showing it. I mean, with Kupp having 220 yards of a game, it was a good win for the Rams.
Without a doubt. And in even bigger news, the Bengals have now decided to bench Andy Dalton for this upcoming game and to replace him with their rookie. Oh, what was his name?
Oh, you told me. Give me 1 second to look it up. I know you told me.
I know. I'm looking forward to. Ryan Finley. What do you think is going to become of the Bears? Because Andy Dalton did not have a terrible game against the Rams. He did not have that bad of a game.
I think it's just kind of one of those things where Cincinnati's just ready for a change. And maybe this is just another one of those situations where Cincinnati's maybe doing what a lot of other teams are doing. I mean, I've been surprised how many teams have had to turn to their backup quarterback this season, and Cincinnati's just another one on the list. As far as the future with Andy Dalton as the Bengals quarterback, I don't think that's going to be a thing for much longer. Again, just like how I said with Mariota and Winston, I think Dalton could be searching for a new job during the offseason as well, because, Cincinnati's still winless. They're still going to have a fairly early pick in the draft. They might not get number 1, so they might not get Tua Tagovailoa, but there's other quarterbacks that are going to be entering the draft. Some that are good. I can't remember. Maybe I think Joe Burrow from LSU is planning on doing that. He's pretty good. You never know. This might just be the Bengals' way of tanking and saying, Andy Dalton, we're done with you. We're getting ready for the future here. Whether that's Ryan Finley or someone else.
And see, I want to agree with you, but his stats for that game, for me personally, if I was put in the coaching and in the front office position, I would not bench Andy Dalton for that game. I know a lot of Bengals fans are frustrated with him, saying that he hasn't done anything. He had a solid game. He threw 329 yards. That's pretty solid. No interceptions. He played a clean game. I think that they might be bringing in Ryan Finley, because I do think that they might be in tank mode to try and get a higher pick. I think they also might be bringing in Ryan Finley to get some professional experience underneath his belt for when they do decide to ship off Andy Dalton, whether that be this offseason or a couple of seasons from now. I think they're trying to get him to have that actual NFL experience underneath his belt other than preseason. This is like middle of the season. Everyone's eyeing for that playoff spot. I think that their Bengals are probably just looking like, we're 0-8, we're not going to get to the playoffs, let's go into tank mode, let's get our rookies some experience, and let's move forward.
I agree. So you would agree with me in the case of, you think Andy Dalton's time is limited. You think his days are numbered.
I would say it's limited, but I don't think it's the end of the Andy Dalton era in the Bengals. I say that he is still performing well enough for them to keep him, but until he starts doing horrendous, I don't see the reason to bench him other than to give the rookie some experience.
I can see that.
All right. Cardinals versus Saints. Man, this was another close game by our predictions. Mainly more so on my end than your end. You predicted a little bit closer, which I don't blame you for. So you predicted 35-24 Saints.
If you remember what I had talked about last week, I was suspecting that the Saints would do the same thing that they did when they played Chicago last week, where it's towards the end of the fourth quarter, the defense would kind of stop giving them these, would stop putting all this pressure on them because the win had been sealed. They'd be able to gain a little bit of traction, but not enough to win the game. And I thought that was going to happen. Turns out it wasn't.
Well, I mean, we also got to remember, Drew Brees came back, and I think Drew Brees came back and he's like, I'm still the top dog here. This is my yard. Nobody comes in and tries to take it over. I predicted 35-10. Actual score was 31-9. I am going to dial that one up to Brees. He is one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's one of the most dominant quarterbacks of the game. And in all honesty, he could still have that chip on his shoulder from last season when they lost to the Rams in the NFC final game to go to the Super Bowl. I think he still has that chip on his shoulder, and he is wanting that Super Bowl more than any quarterback right now.
Take it back one more year before that, Shane, with the Minneapolis Miracle.
Oh, man.
How sad was that for Saints fans?
Oh, yeah, he's probably wanting to make sure that they have a dominant year, and he doesn't want anybody to stand in their way. And honestly, I can see the Saints making a strong run in the playoffs.
Who dat? Honestly, I agree with you. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Chicago Bears fan, but I love the New Orleans Saints. I love Drew Brees. I mean, he's my quarterback for my fantasy team. I love the fact that he's come back now, and I really think that they are trying to gun for getting that Super Bowl title. Just because, they've been let down in the playoffs so many times, and they just don't want to take their foot off the gas at all in this case. Not even the case when Drew Brees is injured, and we're thinking, oh no, how's the Saints season going to go at this point? Teddy B did. You got to admire, Sean Payton and his team. I mean, they've been playing so well this season.
Yeah, and I just want to say Saints are going to be a dominant team, but in a pretty strong NFC house right now, because I'm just showing everybody the standings right now. Cowboys are talking the NFC East with the Eagles literally right on their tail. 49ers and Seahawks, pretty dominant. Packers and Vikings, very dominant. And then the Saints are dominating. Like, it's going to be tough for them, and I think that they might be wanting that number 1 seed, if at all possible for them, and they are trying to put the foot on the gas pedal. That way they don't have to play in that wild card matchup. That way they are guaranteed to play in the second round and have more time to prepare and just be able to come out and then next week after they win that first playoff, go to the NFC Championship game and hopefully for all Saints fans, hopefully they'll be able to go into the Super Bowl.
I would agree with that. At this point, they are just hoping for the fact that the road to the Super Bowl for any team will have to go through the Big Easy. That it will have to be played in the Superdome. And, honestly, I think that's a wise decision. I mean, that's how it was last season. The only thing that changed that was that questionable pass interference that occurred.
But we won't talk about that because we know how much Saints fans do not like that conversation. We don't want to bat too much on that because it's going to bring a whole bunch of controversy, but that was a dirty hit.
It already did, Shane. It created a whole new set of rules for this season. Of course we're not going to want to talk about it. Let's move on. Let's go to your Jaguars versus the Jets.
Woo!
I'm not going to say anything.
Oh,
hit me. Let's hear it.
Oh, hit you. I want to say, Minshew Mania, Minshew Magic. It is back. It is in full force. I'm loving it. Duval is loving it. Jazz fans are loving it. I feel like the whole NFL is loving it. They're loving Gardner Minshew. He is fun. He is exciting. He is making plays that we haven't seen very consistently through most quarterbacks. He is making some awesome plays. And I just want to say, when I was watching the game, his last touchdown pass to DJ Chark in the end zone, I think it was like 3rd and 10, and he's about to get set. Like, he is getting blitzed hard by the Jets. Jutes one guy. He's about to get hit from both sides. He sees Chark right next to a defender along with another receiver. I think it might have been Westbrook or Conley. Chucks it into the end zone. Chark comes down with it. It's a bit celebration. And his words after that, after the game, he said, I have no idea what happened. I blacked out. I don't remember doing any of that. What kind of fun is that? And also, I'm going to let you talk about this one because this doesn't involve the game too much. What do you think about Sam Darnold seeing ghosts?
Oh my gosh. First of all, let me just say, you are such a fanboy. That was funny. I was trying so hard not to just buzz up laughing. That was entertaining here. Thank you. Thank you for letting me listen to you talk about it. That was funny. No, okay, to go into what we're talking about, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. Again, it was just the same thing happened just like it did with the Patriots game. Sam Darnold throwing in more interceptions. He's looking like his buddy Baker Mayfield at this point.
But let's throw in one point. He did see a ghost that game. He did 100% see a ghost.
You're absolutely right. That's what I was going to get into. The Jaguars mascot decided to dress up in a ghost sheet to troll Sam Darnold. And on top of that, you have the Jaguar Stadium playing the Ghostbusters theme afterwards.
Oh, would you say? And I'm gonna say I love my mascot. I think he is hilarious. Jackson DeVille is his name. Do you think him coming down in a ghost costume in his mascot outfit, quote unquote, spooked Darnold?
I'm not even going to get into this, man. I don't want to get this poor Darnold has already been through so much garbage this season anyway, with having mono and then having to deal with everyone making fun of him. It's just, oh man.
Thing is, he came. I will say, I'm gonna take away my Jaguar pride for a second, and it's gonna suck. Darnold came back fairly strong after his mono, but then in this game and the game against the Patriots, he has been not very good. Do you think he's just a bad quarterback for the NFL, or do you think he's just still trying to shake off a few things, shake off the rust a little bit? What do you think is going on with him?
I think Darnold's a fairly decent quarterback. I mean, cut him some slack. It's only his second year. We'll have to see how he continues to develop. I mean, I don't have any bad vibes about Darnold. In this case, because you're right. When he came back from mono, he did have a good game, and since then he's kind of been struggling. And again, it happens. It really does. And he's just going to need to assess. Him and Adam Gase are going to need to assess what are they going to need to fix. What's going to have to be improved upon if they're going to get another win. I don't want to have to say that it's not all on him either. I mean, we can also make the joke and say like the only reason that the Jets do have that one win is because they played a pretty crappy team. I wonder what team that was.
The Cowboys.
But let's not go after Sam Darnold just yet. Let's not put him on the chopping block.
I'm not going to put him on the chopping block. But let's also look. Le'Veon Bell, whatever his name is. Yeah. He was one of the most dominant running backs in the game when he was with the Steelers. He comes to the Jets. He is a dominant runner. The Jaguars do not have the best run defense. But he was very minimal that game. Do you think that was probably like one of the bigger reasons why the Jets might have lost that game?
I think maybe if they had put more into that, there could have been a possibility, that they could have done better. But have you ever considered maybe Le'Veon Bell does just not fit in their system?
You raise a good point. I have not thought about that. Maybe he isn't a good fit because as we have seen, every running back has their own different style and their own different scheme that they work in, as do all players. So maybe this isn't the best fit for him.
Possible. Let's finish up going through these really quick because we still got to get into our predictions for next week and we got a bunch of other stuff. So
all right, let's go lightning round for the most part. Panthers versus 49ers. We both said Panthers were going to win it. You said 28-24. I said 37-35. 49ers came out and dominated the Panthers 51-13. What the heck happened?
Sorry, 49ers. Sorry for doubting you. You're an amazing team. Still undefeated. I brought up this on our highlights question that maybe they're able to see right now, Shane. I asked the question, are the 49ers better than the Patriots? Do I think so? Yeah, I think I do right now. I at least think their offense is better.
I will definitely say I think the 49ers could beat the Patriots. I personally, I apologize to anybody who's a diehard Patriots fan and has been since day one. Not all the people that bandwagon because Tom Brady won so many rings. You guys don't count. You guys weren't there in the beginning. But for real, true Patriot fans, I do not think that you guys are the best team this season, and I think you guys need to watch out for some of these other teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that. New England, keep an eye on San Francisco. They could end up being your opponent in Super Bowl 54.
But anyways, that was also our pick of the week for the biggest game to watch. And it was a game to watch, but not for what we thought.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And we still haven't even gotten to what we think was the best game of the week now that we've seen it in hindsight, which is not this game. The next game is Browns versus Patriots.
I don't think anybody was shocked here.
No one was. And even with us, the only thing that I see in a difference of the scoring is we expected the Patriots to score a little bit more than they actually did. We weren't that far off. It really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, you said 35-14. I said 34-7. Final was 27-13.
Congrats to Bill Belichick on his 300th win. We just saw more interceptions from Baker Mayfield.
Although, future Tom Brady, because we did open this up in a poll to our fans last week, is Tom Brady declining?
It's interesting because I had a few people who have listened to our podcast. They told me they didn't actually go and vote on our site, but they did tell me specifically that they feel like, yes, he is declining, and they wouldn't be surprised if he did leave New England this year, whether it was he goes to play another team or he retires.
That's true. I mean, in all honesty, I don't think Tom Brady is going up. I think he's on that downhill path, and it's just a matter of time until he is completely done with the NFL. He says that he wants to play for another 5+ years. What do you think of him playing for another 5 years? Because personally, I don't see it.
I actually think he could do it. I think it's going to be sort of similar to a Peyton Manning situation. Here's how I see it. And whether he goes and plays for another team, like I said earlier, whether it's Chicago or it's some other team, maybe Brady could do some similar situation to what Peyton Manning did when he went to Denver. Peyton Manning wasn't even really that good when he was the quarterback for the Broncos, but he got that ring because he was playing with a dominant defense. He just made enough of the right decisions in order to keep that team in the game.
I think that's what Brady's going to do. He's not going to be the most dominant. He's not going to be able to throw a Hail Mary all the way down the field and get a touchdown. I think he's just going to be able to make those smart decisions to get them far enough.
Right. I don't think Brady is trying to be the MVP here. I think he is just continuing to play for the love of the game and to see if he can get more rings. That's
all right.
Simple as that.
Because, he already collected all the Infinity Stones and got the gauntlet, snapped his fingers, and made half the quarterbacks in the NFL disappear.
Oh, please don't bring up that meme. Moving on. Raiders versus Texans. 27-24 with the Texans coming out on top. Again, our predictions, not that far off. We both said 28-17.
I think so. But, Texans are pretty tough. I would say probably the only thing that really surprised me was how strong the Raiders came in that game. I think Derek Carr's a good QB. Deshaun Watson, I love him. I think he's a dominant quarterback. I wanted my team to draft him when he was up for the draft, but we didn't.
So did I, and we took Trubisky instead.
Anyways. All in all, yeah. I think that was a good game. Tough game. Texans take it. Raiders fall a little bit short.
Nothing surprising there.
All right, let's move on to what we think was the actual game of the week, Packers versus Chiefs.
This game was so cool to watch. You just talk about two really talented teams going head-to-head with each other. Aaron Rodgers is a talented quarterback with a good team around him, a confident coach with him now in Matt LaFleur, and then you have Andy Reid, who's just a heavily admired coach, running this Chiefs team, which still has a very dominant offense, even without defending MVP Patrick Mahomes under center, but still doing really well with Matt Moore. Chiefs were almost able to pull it out, but as we've seen in the end, Packers got the win. And again, something to point out here too, our picks, at least I'm seeing with mine, and with yours too.
We were both on target.
Yeah, you said 35-24. I said 30-24. Final score was 31-24.
You were off by 1 point. Congrats to you because you absolutely were on fire with this one.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty proud with that.
I want to say that's awesome that we were that close. Matt Moore under center absolutely had a dominating thing. I think we were all scared when Mahomes went down and Moore was coming in, but he had a stellar game against a good Packers team.
I agree. And, Rodgers was looking like his old self. He was playing very well. And that's just really what won out in the end. And that brings me kind of to my last little part that I want to talk about with you, Shane, just to kind of see what you think. Do you think Matt LaFleur could be Coach of the Year this year? Do you think he could get that award?
I think he is definitely a strong candidate for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I would say so too. We'll just have to see what happens.
All right, last game. This is a game that we said skip over if you can.
Weren't wrong.
You were also
not wrong.
Once again 1 point away from this. You said 28-14. I said 17-7. Actual score 27-14. You were on fire with this one as well, but once again, not the greatest game to watch for the week.
Oh, again, it was sort of the thing is, we don't really quite know why things are still not clicking in Pittsburgh. Really, the only thing that I want to talk about here before we go on to our predictions is, Shane, who do you think is the better quarterback for the Dolphins at this point? Should they continue to use Fitzpatrick, or do they need to go back to Rosen?
Oh, man. It's a tough call. Do you want to give the old guy who's been doing this for a long time and was known by Fitzmagic this last week where everybody was getting him for their fantasy leagues, he was dominating, and then he just fell off the deep end and he fell hard? Or do you want to give it to the young guy who has barely had any experience, but hasn't been too terrible. I would say, me personally, it's a tough call with the way the Dolphins are taking everything right now and how well they're doing. Just kind of throw in whoever you want at this point, in all honesty.
Both aren't really that good of an option, right?
And I think the Dolphins are going to be eyeing for a quarterback during this upcoming draft. So who just kind of rotate whoever in and out each week, figure out who's going to be the better option moving forward, which I think it might be Rosen because just of how young he is, but at the same time, you don't want to get a rookie and have your quarterback who's trying to help coach him up, help teach him how things are in the NFL. You don't want him to be just 2 years older than you in the league. You would probably want somebody with a little bit more experience and who can make those better calls.
You have a point there. I would agree with that.
So short term, Fitzmagic. Long term, Rosen.
Yep, agreed. Just something to go through really quick before we go into our predictions. Like we said, the game of the week that we picked for last week was Panthers versus 49ers. We were wrong. The actual game of the week last week we said was Packers versus Chiefs. One thing that we do want to go through real quick was who we thought was the best player from the week. I'll just talk about really quick who we do think it was, although, Shane, I know you have something to add on that. We will say that probably the best player of this week was Drew Brees coming back and having such a great game. It's just a good thing to see him back in. However, Shane, you did have one other person that you wanted to throw in there.
Yes, and I will say, in all honesty, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, two of the best. I will give them a lot of respect and a lot of everything that they deserve because they truly do deserve it. And I will say, here's my fanboy once again, Gardner Minshew. Now, people are going to laugh. He is a rookie. Here's the thing, though. He is a rookie who came in as a backup for an injured Super Bowl quarterback MVP, came in and has turned his foot on the gas. He has won the Pepsi Rookie of the Week, I think 5 times since coming into the NFL. If he is not an MVP, he is definitely Rookie of the Year in my mind.
I would agree. I do think he is the front runner for the Rookie of the Year.
I just think he makes good decisions for how young of a quarterback he is. You don't see this much talent come from a rookie who was picked not in the beginning of the draft, but towards the end of the rounds. And I hope I'm right on this because this would make me happy. I think he might be a future Tom Brady with winning those Super Bowls. Not personality-wise, because he has a way different personality, but the caliber of quarterback Brady is, I think he's another Brady that came in later in the draft who has been showing people, hey, you missed out on me.
Sort of a thing of, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you missed out. Snooze, you lose.
But anyways, let's continue to our predictions for next week.
We're
going to kind of speed run this a little bit.
Yeah. So let's start. 49ers versus Cardinals. That's a Thursday game. That's a division rival matchup. What are we thinking, Shane?
49ers are definitely going to take it. Now, here's where the score is going to come in tricky. They went up against a good Panthers defense and blew them out of the water. They're going up a Cardinals team who is So I want to say that they're going to score high, but at the same time, I feel like if I say they're going to score high, they're not going to blow them out of the water like I'm thinking. So I'm probably going to still go a little bit high, but not too. I'm going to say it's going to be 38-10 49ers.
Okay, cool. Not far off from what I was saying. I'm thinking more 35-10. Yep, 35-10 49ers.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in the same ballpark. All right, next game. Who do you want?
Texans and Jaguars.
Oh, wow, you put me on the spot with this. Okay, Texans and Jaguars. Last time they faced each other earlier in the season, when Minshew had his first start of his career, the Jaguars lost 12-13 because they decided to go for a two-pointer instead of kicking the easy field goal, going into overtime, let the defense take care of business. I think the Jaguars are going to come in with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder. Minshew's going to have a lot more chemistry with his team, and they're going to come in and they're going to be able to handle the Texans a lot better this time around. I'm going to say the score is probably going to be 21-14.
Okay. Now, I'm not doing this just to say, haha, no, I don't think your team is good. I'm just going to offer a different perspective here, just so it seems like you and I are all like, yes, we agree on the exact same thing, but try and offer a little variety here. So in this case, I am going to say that the Texans pull off the win, but I think it will be a close game like it was last time. So in this case, I think a lot of it is going to be a bit of the defense jarring back and forth between the two of them, and in the end, the score is going to be something like, I don't know, 24-21. The Texans barely pulling out that win. In fact, let me tweak that to say 24-22.
I can honestly see that. I'm not mad about that at all. Texans are a good team. I have a lot of respect for them. But you also got to remember, J.J. Watt out for the season. He's one of the biggest men on that defense. And he makes most of the calls for them. I think they're going to be a little thrown off with him not being in this game.
Might be right. We'll
have to see how that plays out. But I'm giving my edge to the Jaguars, partly because of J.J. Watt being out.
Right, you have a point there. I'll just have to see how the Texans' defense does play with this game without J.J. Watt. Again, we're very sad to hear that he's going to be out for the rest of the season with a torn pectoral muscle.
I wish him the best. He is a phenomenal player on and off the field, and you can't say that enough. You can't say that about too many players in the NFL.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, because you hit me with my boys, I'm going to hit you with yours. Bears versus Eagles.
Right. If I'm offering the first prediction, I still feel like the Eagles are going to be on a bit of a roll after they had their game this past week. And so it's sad to say, but I am going to go with the Eagles on this one for pulling out the win. And I think the final score is going to be something like 28-21. And it's not to mention that in Philadelphia.
It's true. Philadelphia is a hard place to play. I hate to say it, but Eagles, after seeing the way they handled the Bills and the Bears kind of coming up short against the Chargers, I'm saying the Eagles take it. I'm going to say, this pains me to say this in all honesty, my friend, but 28-17. I think it's going to be a two-score game at least.
You might be right. You honestly might be right. I think, the Bears got to fix some stuff. And yes, the Eagles need to fix some stuff too, but I think the Eagles are kind of still at this point where they're like, hey, we're still in this race. We got to go beat the Cowboys. We got to take our division. Chicago, you're at the bottom. We need to knock you out.
It's true.
I think at this point, I'm just hoping there's no double doink again.
All right, next game. Who do you want to go into next?
Vikings versus Chiefs.
Vikings versus Chiefs. This one I think is going to be one of the closest ones. And kind of looking at the games for this week, I have a few. This is one of my candidates for the game to watch of the week. The second one is going to be the Patriots versus the Ravens. But Chiefs versus Vikings, I think is going to be a good game. If Matt Moore comes out the way he did this past week against the Vikings, I think the Chiefs might take it. It's going to be a nail-biter. It's going to be close. I'm going to say, let's say 27-24.
Okay. I'll just inch it up just a little bit higher, just because I still don't have the highest praise for the Chiefs defense just yet. I know that they have some things to work out, and I might have to say the same thing about the Vikings defense. So I'll take it up just one more notch and say 35-27 with the Chiefs coming out on top.
All right. We'll see this Sunday.
All right. And I've been wrong when I've done high scoring predictions, so we'll have to see.
All right, next game.
Excuse me. Colts and Steelers?
Colts and Steelers. Oh boy. Colts are going to take it, in my opinion. They are coming to win with a little bit of a rougher game this past week. But Steelers, man, you hate to see what happens to a once almost always dominant Steelers team. Now 3-4, not doing too bad, not doing great. I think the Colts are going to come in and just slightly outplay them. It might not be that big of a blowout game, but I'm going to say it'll be 24-14.
1-9 is what I'm saying.
All right. Next game.
Another division game: Jets versus Finns.
Jets versus Finns.
Garbage bowl.
Yeah, I was gonna say this would probably be the game that I'd say you might want to skip this week unless you're a big Jets fan, you're a big Dolphins fan, or you just want to see if the Dolphins can potentially win a game. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the Jets. Hopefully, Darnold has found the Ghostbusters, gotten rid of all the ghosts in his life, shaken off everything that he needs to, and is able to come out to deliver the Jets their second win. I'm going to say it's not going to be a great game. I'm going to say it's probably going to be 14-10 with the Jets taking it.
Okay. I would agree with you. I think Halloween's going to be over, and Sam Darnold's going to have all of his ghosts gotten rid of. I am going to say 24-14 with the Jets taking the win.
Very nice. All right, next game. Let's see who we got.
Washington and Buffalo.
Washington and Buffalo. Now, I do want to say, we have been saying that the Redskins have been resilient lately. Are they resilient enough to beat the Bills, who just lost to the Eagles? And it wasn't even close. It was a little bit of a kind of one-sided game for the most part. Do you think the Bills are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder and stick it to the Redskins, or do you think the Redskins are going to be resilient enough to hold out?
I think the Bills will be able to stick it to the Redskins, as you put it. But I don't feel like it's going to be this blowout game that maybe someone might expect with how Josh Allen's been playing in comparison to how Washington has had a lot of problems this season so far. I would say yes, the Bills will still pull out the win, but it might be a bit closer than we think. As far as my predictions go, I think it's going to be something like 24. No, sorry, that's way too high. Let's go with 20-17.
With the Bills taking it?
Sir.
You know, I'm going to give a little bit of an opinion. The Bills are definitely desperate to take a win this game and keep themselves in the playoff race. I think the Redskins' resiliency is going to barely be enough. The Bills are probably a little lost in days after that loss to the Eagles, and I feel like they came in a little overconfident when facing the Eagles, felt a little cocky. I think they're going to do the same thing with the Redskins because I think a lot of people are bagging on the Redskins saying that they're not good, but they've been holding teams to pretty low scores lately, even if they don't score themselves. I'm going to say the Redskins barely take it 14-10.
All right. You know what? The funny thing is while I disagree with you, I still think that could be possible. So we'll just have to see, right?
Yeah, come Sunday.
All right, the last of our morning games is Titans versus Panthers. Shane, what do you think on this one?
I want to say the Titans win, and I am hoping that the Panthers bounce back after the poor performance that they had last week. I'm going to say the Panthers are going to take it. As for the score, it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say it's 27-24.
That's in the ballpark for what I was thinking it was going to be too. But I'm going to say maybe something where there's a little bit more of a spread. I'm going to say it's 24-17 with Carolina taking the win.
Okay. Neither one going Titans. Let's see if the Titans actually stand up or the Panthers hold their ground.
And Tannehill, prove us wrong. Let's see it. Because Jimmy Garoppolo certainly did.
Oh, yeah. All right, next game. You want to do Lions versus Raiders?
I do, and here's the funny thing, Shane, is I know we did talk about how the Vikings and the Chiefs game is going to be a big game to watch, and likely so will be the Patriots and the Ravens. But you know what? I think the Lions and the Raiders could be a really good afternoon game as well.
I think out of all the afternoon games that are going to be playing, they're probably going to be one of the more interesting, more fun ones to watch, and probably a little bit closer of a game for people that want a close game and a fighting game. Because, I mean, I'm looking at the other games. Buccaneers, Seahawks, I see the Seahawks easily taking it. Like, I see pretty standard, like, who's going to take it, and then others are like, I don't care about. I'm going to say, though, with this one, it's going to be a good way to fill your afternoon. I will
Yes.
say, I think the Lions are going to take it, though.
Okay. You know what? Dissenting opinion, and I'm going to say that Oakland is going to bounce back, and Oakland's going to take this one.
All right, what's your score prediction? I'm thinking
I
of
think it's
an.
going to be close, and I think you're right. It's going to be kind of a rough game. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think there's actually going to be a lot of defensive playing. There's going to be a lot of fumble recoveries by the defense. I really think that's going to happen in this game. And my final score will revolve around maybe something like I don't know, 27-24 with the Raiders taking it.
Okay. See, I think they're going to score a little bit higher. I think that their offense is going to be a little bit more on point. I'm going to say the final score is going to be 31-24 with the Lions taking it.
And you know what? That could very well be. And this is kind of an interesting role reversal where it was last week you doubted the Lions and you favored the Giants. This week I'm doubting the Lions and I'm favoring the Raiders. So
I mean,
what was that? Sorry?
yeah, I doubted the Giants last week. I mean, Lions proved me wrong. Don't prove me wrong again 2 weeks in a row. I'll be disappointed with you, and then I can't trust the Lions anymore. All
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
our next game: Buccaneers versus
I think it'll be a good
Seahawks.
game. Seahawks taking the win on this one completely. I think it might even be a blowout game. You know, I'm going to say something. I will say like the final score is going to be somewhere around 31-13.
I was thinking about 28-10. Seahawks
Okay.
taking it.
So we're relatively close. Let's just fit that. Let's just leave it at that.
All right, next game: Packers versus Chargers. This one I think is going to be a blowout for any LA Charger fans. I want to say San Diego. Everyone still says San Diego, but they're in LA. Packers are going to come in. Rodgers is going to dominate them. Rivers going to be good, but not good enough. I'm going to say the Packers are going to take it 35-18.
18. I'll agree with you on the side of that. What's what the Packers will score? I'm going to say 35-21.
21. I'm actually going to go 35-17. I think 17 is going to be a little bit better.
Okay.
All right, Browns versus Broncos. Oh.
Yikes.
Oh. Pass on this game, please, everyone. This is not going to be a fun game to watch, in my personal opinion.
I think, in my opinion, I think that the Browns will be able to pull off the win here. And it might be sort of a little bit of a redemption curve for Baker Mayfield. We'll have to see how it plays out. I don't think it's going to be this big blowout game, and I don't think anyone disagrees with me on that. As far as scores go, let's say 24-17.
Ooh. See, I'm thinking the Broncos are going to take it because from personal experience, the Broncos have been tough to beat. They have been showing that lately. I think the Broncos are going to be able to win. I'm going to say 24-14.
Tell you what, I'm going to look. I just want to see one thing, unless you're able to see it yourself. Are they playing in Cleveland or in Denver?
The Broncos, for this upcoming game, they, I believe, are playing in Denver.
You know what? I might have to change what I said, and I might actually have to agree with you and say Denver's going to win this.
Mile High Stadium's never easy to play at.
And Denver is really trying to get that win. You're right. They've been a lot tougher than they have recently. Browns are coming off of excuse me. No, they're not coming off a bye, but they are just coming off of a game against the Patriots where the Patriots clearly rattled them. They might still be a bit rattled. And again, as I've said before, I have not seen anything impressive from Baker Mayfield this season.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield's not going to be that dominant of a player this week, and I think the Broncos are just going to take it, even with Flacco being out.
Let me switch that. I believe what did I say, 24-17?
I think so.
Yeah, but we'll say the Broncos win instead of the Browns.
Okay. Moving on. Patriots versus Ravens for the Sunday night showdown. This is going to be a good game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I think the Patriots are going to earn their first loss of the season. I think the Ravens are going to take it.
Dang it, I wanted to be the dissenting opinion here and say that the Ravens are going to win.
I mean, we can both have that opinion, in all honesty. Patriots are good.
Yeah.
I just think the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is going to come up, and as we have seen in weeks prior with him, he can be dominant in the air game and on the ground. He has won the FedEx Air Player and the FedEx Ground Player, so he has won an award. He is the first quarterback in history, NFL history, to win both the award for in the air and by on the ground. He beat out running backs for a ground game. I think the Patriots are going to have a hard time figuring out what exactly he's going to do, and he has good weapons on both offense and defense. I think he's going to just barely beat out the Patriots. Probably, I want to say it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say it's 28-24.
The funny thing is I mean, you pretty much already said anything that I needed to say regarding Lamar Jackson. I mean, he is an offensive machine. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is I mean, I'm interested to see how this dominant Patriots defense plans and prepares for someone like him. I think, if anything, if the Ravens are going to be beat, it's going to all come from that Patriots defense. Maybe being able to figure out Lamar Jackson's game and maybe be able to get an interception or something like that. But in the end, I feel like because the Ravens defense, they're not chumps. They might be able to anticipate Brady's game sooner than the Patriots defense will be able to perceive what Lamar Jackson's doing. And I think you're right. 28-24 is a perfect yes on that, and I'm going to stick with you on that one.
I think it's going to come down to who comes in the most prepared for who, and if Belichick is able to adjust to whatever the Ravens are going to run with that night.
Absolutely.
All right, Monday Night Showdown, Giants versus the Cowboys. Why do I feel like all the Monday night games are games that I just want to pass on? I mean, no offense, Giants are 2-6, and they're going up against the Cowboys, who are divisional rivals at 4-3. Daniel Jones has put on a show. Cowboys are the Cowboys, so not many people love them. No disrespect to the Cowboys. Not many people love you guys. I honestly want to say, Giants, you disappointed me last week. I'm going with you this week. It's going to be a close game. Hopefully Daniel Jones can do a lot of what he did last week. I'm going to say the score is going to be 31-28.
Yeah, Shane, you know as well as anyone that I have no love for Dallas.
Oh, I know.
But I have a feeling, and again, I think this is going to be a close game because New York is kind of starting to figure things out. And I think in this case, it will continue to be close, but it will be Dallas who comes out on top. And I think the final score will be maybe something like 27-22, with the Cowboys coming out on top.
Oh, you're going with the Cowboys. Going with Dak and Zeke to take it.
I am, and I'm throwing up in my mouth as I say it. But there you have it. Those are our picks for how this week is going to go. We'll see if we're as accurate as we were last week. That was kind of impressive. I'm not going to lie. That wasn't bad.
Yeah. Now, let's get into a little bit more fun topics. So, we're having our fans vote right now, and I'm going to post it for anybody watching that wants to comment, and you can also go check out on the Twitter. I will post it very, very shortly there. That way you guys can take the poll there and argue, debate. Also, you can join the Discord. We'll put it up in there. That way anybody who wants to debate this for the entire week. But here is the topic. Who is the best quarterback and the worst quarterback in the league? Who is also the best and the worst running back in the league?
Shane, what do you think?
Right now, Best quarterback in the league is going to be a tie between Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. Drew Brees coming out from an injury. I think we still need to see a little bit more from him this season to officially declare him the best quarterback of the season. But I'm also keeping my eye out for Russell Wilson as a dark horse in this category. Worst quarterback? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Sam Darnold. I hope you disappoint me and prove me wrong in this. I really do, my friend. Right now, I think you are probably one of the worst quarterbacks just from looking at the past few games. You can easily bounce back. You did like when you came back from your mono, but you need to show me a little something right now.
All right. You know, as far as best quarterback, because you mentioned, what was it, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers is a tie?
Yeah.
It pains me to say this because, I love Drew Brees, and I think, he's the quarterback for my fantasy team, but I'm going to take him out of there, and I'm going to lump Aaron Rodgers with Patrick Mahomes.
That's true. I forgot about Mahomes because he is currently out. He has been dominant, but we're going to talk about him a little bit later.
Yeah, we will be. We definitely will be. I think, we still have yet to see the best in Mahomes for this season. I think he's been doing well, but he has been better. And I think that at this point, though, he still is the best. And I still am just so upset that we did not get to see him and Rodgers play in the same game.
I think if we saw them dueling it out, I think we would have a clear front runner on who is the best quarterback in the league right now. But because we missed that, we're kind of left to just a fun debate now.
And I agree with you that Russell Wilson can definitely be a dark horse in that. He's been having a very excellent season.
Although, and then our second part. Oh yeah, worst quarterback. Your opinion. Go.
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston.
Yep. Sorry, it's just I feel like with him, it's just throwing all these interceptions and just really just being just not a very impressive quarterback at any time, except when going into the NFL and everyone's thinking, oh yeah, he could be good. I have never seen anything from him, and I feel like that has continued to show as we go into the season, and that he's just declining. Whereas, we've talked about some of these other quarterbacks I don't think are that good, like Case Keenum or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield or Mitchell Trubisky. I still have yet to see how things are going to be with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. They're in their second year. I'll give them a pass until they get into their third year. That's the case with Trubisky right now. He's in his third year. He doesn't get a pass anymore. But
how's it feel having to say your quarterback's name in the worst quarterback in the league category?
I'm just being honest. That's all I have to say about that.
How's that feel coming out of your mouth? Does it make you feel sick? Because, I dealt with that with Blaine Gabbert and... Oh, Blaine Gabbert. I'm sorry. Blake Bortles wasn't the greatest. Wasn't as bad as everyone says he was. Blaine Gabbert, he made me want to die on the inside.
I didn't grow up in the Sid Luckman era of Chicago. I grew up with the Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman, Mitchell Trubisky era. I'm used to having a bad quarterback. Let's just leave it at that.
All right, let's move on. Best running back in the league right now. My vote. My team's running back is up on the list. He is dominating in yards right now. Although I will say probably one of the more dominant running backs in the league right now, Christian McCaffrey. I feel like he has been carrying so much of the Panthers' weight, where he has been the driving force for that team so far.
I agree. And you know what? I feel like he is the superior running back because Todd Gurley has been quiet this season.
It's true. But we got others. Alvin Kamara, who's been out. I think Todd Gurley's out right now too. Both of them are some of the best running backs who have been on the little bit of a quieter side. Christian McCaffrey has put up some big numbers. Fournette has put in some numbers, but I think Christian McCaffrey is by far the best running back in the league right now.
I agree. If I have to put someone in as a runner-up, Dalvin Cook, Minnesota Vikings.
He has been pretty dominant. I will not deny that. He has been a good running back this year. Worst running back in the league right now.
you think?
Oh, see, I'm trying to think of what team has been like. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to necessarily say that it's the worst quarterback, but he has been terrible compared to what everyone thought he would be. Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
I know that is
we've
bold.
kind of forgotten him.
I know that is
Mm-hmm.
bold. I think that he is a good running back, but he has not had a good season. And in all honesty, with the hype and with everything going behind him, I mean, you would, like, a year or two ago, you would say that he was obviously one of the best running backs in the league.
Oh yeah.
But now, you don't even see him come to games really anymore. He's just kind of there and doesn't do that much. I'm going to say he's probably the worst running back in the league for the main reason we haven't seen too much of him actually flashing like I know that he can.
Yep, I would agree with that. If I had to pick who I thought the worst running back in the league is right now, it's really funny. You were saying, "Wow, you didn't go straight for him when we were talking about quarterbacks," but I'll go for it on the running back here. It's David Montgomery. It's Chicago's running back, but the reason that he is so bad, I don't feel like is completely a fault of his own. He's a rookie. I have to cut him some slack there, and they haven't been running the ball very much in Chicago. But because of that, David Montgomery has been struggling.
I do want to say, you are saying that. But look at his last game against the Chargers. He popped off against the Chargers. Do you think he's finding his momentum? Or do you think that was just a one-time thing and it might not happen again further down the line?
Let me talk to Matt Nagy. I'm just kidding. I can't talk to Matt Nagy. If Nagy continues to at least let him run the ball, then yeah, he'll continue to be good.
I think he has potential to pop out of that worst spot, but consistently bad. Ooh, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals running back because I'm not even sure who all is their primary running back. I see Christian Kirk. I see Chase Edmonds. Neither one doing a whole lot down in Arizona. I'm gonna say Arizona running back at the worst.
All right. Yeah. Let's leave it at that.
All right.
Whoever Arizona, whoever you're saying your running back is, he sucks.
Okay. I'm gonna just show everyone real quick the Arizona rushing game. Christian Kirk, 1 carry for 19 yards. Kyler Murray, 2 carries for 13 yards. Chase Edmonds, 7 carries for 8 yards. Zach Zinner, 1 carry for no yards. Who's running the ball there? It doesn't seem to matter because they're all doing bad.
Case closed.
Now, let's get to... I'm going to say this is probably going to be our last topic for the night. It's going to be our For the Fun topic, which we will also post later on after the podcast, probably tomorrow. Let's talk about the Madden curse.
Dun, dun, dun.
I want to say, I've been so pumped to talk about the Madden curse. Is it real? Is it not real? I want to know what you think. And I also want the fans to tell us what they think. Is the Madden curse real?
I mean, here's how this is going to go down. Shane and I have specifically taken the last 4 on the cover for Madden, and we are talking about, does this apply to them? Now, I understand that there are a lot of other people that we could talk about that are still in the game, whether it's Drew Brees, Adrian Peterson, Odell Beckham Jr., and whether the Madden curse affects them. But for this point right now, we're going to talk about the last 4 years and the last 4 people that have been on the covers, which in this case is Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, and Patrick Mahomes.
And I do want to say, the Madden curse seems to primarily affect those only for the year that they are on it. After that, they seem to be fine. It's only for that 1 year. So let's get each other's thoughts. Gronk, did the Madden curse apply to him? Yes or no?
Yes, he had a rough season that year. I mean, he didn't even play in the Super Bowl against Atlanta, did he? Because he was plagued by injuries.
I believe so. I would say the Madden curse did hit him and was hitting him hard. And then if we look after that, we not only had Gronk, we had another Patriots player, Tom Brady, the GOAT, come in.
If anyone could break the Madden curse, it should have been the GOAT.
Do you think he did break it, though?
There's only one statistic that I could think of that maybe could suffice to say it did strike him. And that being that he did not get his 6th ring that year, and that the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
And I just want to say, I would say the Madden curse did hit him. A backup quarterback beat him in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And was able to kind of have a good control of the field. Brady's good. I don't think he had one of his more dominant years the year he was on the Madden cover, though.
Back it up, though, with what you were saying with how that Super Bowl went, though, because we can't deny the fact, though, that score was 41-33. Brady was doing very well as a quarterback in that game. The Patriots offense was doing really well. The struggle that game was the Patriots defense was not able to hold against this RPO run heavy Philadelphia offense that, yes, did have a backup quarterback under center.
Who served them up the Philly special, which Tom Brady did try to have one of his other players throw the ball to him. He did not catch it. Nick Foles, however, comes in, runs close to the same play, and gets the job done. I would say the Madden curse did hit Brady that year. Maybe not as hard as others that it hits, but it did hit him.
I would agree with that. Of our 4 candidates that we're listing here, he fits the criteria the least well out of the 4.
Now, this next one.
Who hits it the best? This guy.
Antonio Brown. My goodness. Oh. So, I actually looked at a few memes about this. So, not only did Antonio Brown get moved from the Steelers down to the Raiders, he has so many problems with the Raiders. He also got frostbite on his foot. And you want to know who helped produce this Madden game? A company called Frostbite. Coincidence? No. Antonio Brown got hit harder by the Madden curse than I think any other player ever has. He went to the Raiders, was there not even for that long, was free agent for a while, got picked up by the Patriots, there for a week, and immediately gone.
Let's go into the specifics of that a little bit, though, Shane. While during his brief tenure with Oakland, he does a lot of stupid things. Yes, we did talk about the frostbite. We haven't talked about his helmet grievances. He filed 2 of those. Then he missed a bunch of practice, and he gets fined for that. His fine leads to him threatening the general manager for the Raiders, which leads to him being released, which he demanded himself. Of course, what happens after that? He gets picked up by the defending Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots. And he does play 1 game with them against a tanking Miami Dolphins team. But the reason he doesn't stick around is because he has not 1, but 2 sexual assault allegations leveled against him, which in this case would have led to, at the very least, him staying with the Patriots team, just being placed on the commissioner's exempt list while the investigation was being figured out. The problem that the Patriots organization had with it was the fact that Antonio Brown sent threatening messages to these people, and that's what the Patriots couldn't handle, and that's why they released him. And that is why he is a free agent right now, and no team is desirous to pick him up. And they probably won't until he figures out at least this litigation issue.
And I do want to say, I don't think I'm the only fan watching football, keeping up with football, that when I saw Antonio Brown get picked up by the New England Patriots, immediately thought, oh no, here we go. Great, now we have a really good receiver. Not just one for the Patriots, but multiple with Brady at the helm.
You know, the one thing that I do have to say with this is it is actually quite a bit of a tragedy that Antonio Brown is not in the league right now, because he is a very, very talented I don't know why I said running back, wide receiver. One of the best.
I
But
will say, I think
unfortunately,
the
these
league is
wounds that he
definitely.
had on himself.
I think the league is different without him. Does the league really miss him a whole lot? I don't think so.
No, but I feel like, at least in my opinion, we missed the talent. We missed what was being seen there. What we saw when he was in Pittsburgh. Um, and the hard thing is that all these wounds are self inflicted. It's not an accident that happened to him. It's not like Gronkowski who gets these injuries. Antonio Brown did this to himself.
It's true. With the frostbite, he was doing cryotherapy and stayed in too long and messed up his feet. Helmet. He didn't like the helmet. It wasn't the same helmet that he had always used. He brought in a lot of these personal issues into a game where most coaches will probably tell you, leave it behind, focus, play the field right now, and then pick up your stuff once you get off the field.
Absolutely. Moving on to our last candidate, it's the one who's on the most recent Madden 20 cover, Patrick Mahomes. Has the Madden curse come to get him at all? In this case, we can say yes because of when his knee popped out in that game against the Denver Broncos last week. Yikes.
And I will say, I'm a big fan of Mahomes. I don't know many people who are not a big fan of Mahomes. I wish him the speediest recovery. It sucks. I hate the Madden curse has taken him, of all people, away. I think I talked to a few people in a football game that I play where we saw that Mahomes was put on the cover and we're like, don't take Mahomes. Leave Mahomes alone. We don't want him to go too.
Absolutely. And I mean, there were signs of maybe the Madden curse striking him beforehand. Everyone was saying that Tyreek Hill's litigation issue could have been an issue of the Madden curse striking Mahomes at that point, too, because he might have lost his best receiver. Obviously, that's not what happened, but Tyreek Hill did get injured for a while. If we want to add any other statistic under how the Madden curse affected Patrick Mahomes.
Definitely.
Last question that we want to talk about here as we kind of conclude what we've talked about with the Madden curse and our thoughts about these players is the last question is, who is next? Who's going to be on that cover next year? Who's going to be that player that as soon as we see it's published that they're on that cover, we all gasp. We're all like, uh-oh. Who do we think that's going to be? Shane?
Oh, I don't want to say this because I am scared if this happens to any of the people on it. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, I think, are up there, and I feel scared if I was them.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. My pick is neither one of those because Drew Brees has been on it before.
It's true.
My pick for who I think is next is also a quarterback. I think Russell Wilson could be on the cover of Madden next year.
I mean, I can definitely see that.
And it would really suck, too, especially for Seattle fans, if we see Russell Wilson in this situation where he ends up struggling. In this case, too, whether it's a most likely injury. I don't think everyone's going to have a situation like Antonio Brown, but we'll just have to see how things play out. First of all, we have to see who's even going to be on that cover next year.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see kind of how everything goes for all the teams and for who truly is going to be on the cover of the Nets. Hopefully not Madden curse if it's somebody that I like. If it's somebody I don't like, I'm sorry, you can have the Madden curse.
Yeah, if Ezekiel Elliott's on it next year, that's cool. I'm just kidding. That's really rude. That's really rude towards Cowboys fans. They're all going to come after me now.
And you deserve every second of it.
I probably do. And then again, that's the biggest thing. We don't even know who's going to be on it next year, just like how we don't know how these games are going to play out. But you have heard our predictions here for the fans, and this is about where we're going to wrap it up for this week. We've been on this for about an hour and 40 minutes, and I need a drink of water.
You need to start carrying water with you. But yeah, I mean, we're in the hype of the NFL season. We are midway through the season. All these teams are we're starting to get a little bit of a playoff picture. Trade deadline is happening. All these trades are happening. Everyone's getting comfortable. And we're going to start seeing everybody either fight for that playoff seat, or we are going to start seeing teams tank to try to get the next best draft pick.
Absolutely. You've heard it here, what we've had to say for this week. We appreciate those of you who have joined us here. The one thing that we do want to remind you of in this case is the fans vote. Who's the best/worst quarterback in the league? Also, who is the best/worst running back in the league? We want to hear your thoughts on that. Also, we're going to let you know about what our topic is going to be for the fun next week. I'm actually more excited for the one next week than I was for the Madden Curse this week. Shane and I are going to be talking next week on our section called For the Fun. We are going to be talking about what team would Colin Kaepernick go to if he were welcomed back into the league? What team would he fit best with? What team would welcome him back? It's been a very controversial situation with Kaepernick. Where would he fit best if he were to come back to the NFL?
I mean, do you want to throw in our other person that we were also debating for this For the Fun section?
Why not? Let's do it. We'll add him in there too.
All right, we're also going to add in Antonio Brown. We talked about him on the Madden Curse. We talked about him, what everything's going on with the season. What team should he go to if he can come back? I think it's going to be, honestly, just a lot of fun, a lot more lighthearted banter and talk about the NFL personally.
Absolutely, because it'll be more for us to kind of just hypothesize and have a laugh about it. Whereas with the Madden Curse, yes, we talked about it. We kind of almost had what you could consider a mini cry fest of saying that, oh, it's so bad that some of these things happen to these players. But this will be a case of, hey, what if they came back? What would happen here?
And I mean, at the same time, I even want to throw this out to the fans watching. If they have anything that they want to see, like, discussed about, if they want to have a For the Fun, if they have any ideas for the fans' vote, message us in Discord, message us on here, message us on Twitter. We check those. We will put those into consideration. And even if you join the Discord, you can go in there and you can just trash talk other teams. You can talk great about your team. You can debate anything. We have all these different channels for you guys set up. That way you guys can go in there, talk about your team, brag about them, defend them, and honestly, just talk football. This is for the fans, by the fans. We are fans too. We love this game. We know people love the NFL, and that's kind of the main reason why we started doing this, was to get that involvement, to be able to discuss something that we are both passionate about.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
But like you said, I think that's going to do it for this week. We're definitely going to tune in next week. I am going to be working on a few things, which, McKay, I will definitely talk to you about later. We got potential surprises coming up. But yeah, this has been our second episode. I felt like we're getting a little bit more into a groove. This week's games, honestly, I feel like are going to be a little bit closer games than last week's. Honestly, most of the games I felt like were more one-sided.
I agree. It's just going to continue to ramp up with the pressure as we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, but anyways, I think that's going to be it for today's episode, and we're definitely going to come back next week with more updates, and hopefully, I want to see, McKay, if we can at least get one 100% accurate score game prediction.
Let's see if it happens.
I hope it does. I think that would be one of the coolest things, and that would be something that would be a huge milestone for this podcast, is calling a game right, because at that point, NFL really should hire us to be commentators instead of who they have.
Calling a game right, Shane, at that point, they might as well just make us refs.
Because we all know the refs really can't do their job that well.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you, everybody.